What the heck is going on in Loudoun County, Virginia?
It is settled that boys are boys and girls are girls, and yet here we are having a school board seemingly against parents and punishing two boys in high school for something that is noble, where they're saying they're not comfortable undressing in front of a biological female. They're trying to protect themselves and also the biological female, and for this, their own school board has turned against them. And it is outrageous, John. Absolutely outrageous.
Viva Fry, former Montreal litigator turned current Florida rumbler, in my home office yet again with the beautiful setting sun in the free state of Florida. And for those of you who might not have heard about this story, it's going to leave you asking one question.
What in the name of sweet holy hell is going on in Loudoun County, Virginia?
From WTOP.com, Loudoun County students' suspension on hold while legal action over locker room incident proceeds. Some of you might not have heard about this story because I hadn't heard about this story until yesterday, and I spend my life on the internet, so if I didn't hear about it, guaranteed others haven't heard about it. So let's go ahead and put this story on blast, shall we? We shall. It's a
leading question.
This is the story about two teenage boys commenting on the fact that there is a girl in their changing room, their locker room, because there is a girl in their changing room or locker room, a girl who identifies as a boy, I guess, a trans girl, and so they make some sort of comment about there being a girl in the locker room. What the heck is going on? It was caught on video, and they were suspended for reasons. A Loudoun County student's suspension is on hold while litigation over whether the punishment was warranted moves forward, a federal judge ruled Friday. The ruling comes after two students' families filed a lawsuit against the Northern Virginia School District, alleging that kids were wrongfully punished for speaking out about an incident in a school locker room. During the encounter, they said a transgender student identifying as male recorded them in a locker room at Stonebridge High School. The students had been suspended for 10 days for harassment, and in a new court filing this week, the school system described incidents in which the two students harassed the other student before the incident in the locker room. The Washington Post was first to report on the filing. Now, there is video of the purported harassment, and when you see the video, you simply are not going to believe it. But there is more to this story above and beyond the torture, the unjust punishment that was the 10-day suspension. When you see the video, you're going to freak out, but before then, let's just continue reading with this article. Quote, "These boys never directly spoke with the complainant, and so our boys were merely complaining that there was a biological girl in their locker room," end quote, said Victoria Cobb, president of the Founding Freedoms Law Center. Quote, "The school has decided to make them political pawns in a battle over ideology," end quote. In court documents, the school system said witnesses described threatening incidents or behavior in gym class and school hallways. In an 11-second video, a speaker is heard saying, quote, "girl boy," end quote, several times. The students who filed the complaint said the two boys said to, quote, "get out," end quote, of the locker room, and was referred to as, quote, "it," end quote, during PE class. Now, other than the 11-second video describing what might have happened, we don't really see any of that, but we do have the video of the boys reacting to the fact that there's a girl in the locker room, and you want to see that video, I'll show it to you after I read a little more in the article. A recording of the locker room incident document said reveals a series of comments the two boys made, including things such as, quote, "there's a girl," end quote, quote, "why is there a girl," end quote. My goodness, because why should two boys in a locker room not be saying there's a girl in here when there's a girl in there? And if you think I'm exaggerating and I've been teasing it enough, here's the actual video of the alleged incident that led to the suspension of these students.
Now an important angle follow-up. Two high school boys were suspended and accused of sexual harassment. This was last spring after complaining about a biological girl using their locker room.
I'm so uncomfortable with a girl. Not female, bro. Get out of here.
Okay, sorry, but that's a normal reaction. Just normal.
Well, the parents took the matter to court to contest the suspension, which I think is a reasonable thing to contest because there's absolutely nothing objectionable going on in here. Sticking a girl in the boys' locker room is the problem, not boys reacting to a girl in the boys' locker room. The parents got the suspension put on hold so the kids are not suspended, but they ran into other issues before the courts, and wait till you see the judge, a Clinton appointee, an octogenarian, coming down with a ruling that surprised a few people. From Fox News, Virginia parents crush fundraising goal for trans locker room fight after judge ordered massive bond. Two high school boys were suspended for allegedly sexually harassing a transgender classmate who was using male-only locker room. First on Fox, parents from Northern Virginia late Wednesday night surpassed the massive $125,000 bond that a judge ordered them to pay to defend their sons who were suspended and found responsible for sexual harassment after objecting to a transgender classmate using their male-only locker room in court. The parents, who are suing the Loudoun County Public Schools District, raised over $125,000 ahead of the Friday deadline and even met the original Wednesday deadline before it was granted an extension. Listen to what the judge ordered them to post by way of bond in what is clearly a case of public interest for which there should be no bond. Wait until you see what this judge ordered them to post. You already know, $125,000. They were originally ordered by a federal judge to come up with the funds by the end of the day on Wednesday if they wanted to keep fighting for their sons in court. The $125,000 quote bond, end quote, was ordered by the judge in the case, Leonie Brinkema, who said the money is meant to ensure that the parents would be able to pay for the school district's attorney's fees if they end up losing. Why that amount? Who knows? Why such a short deadline to post that bond? Who the heck knows? Let's go ahead and ask the judge. Who was that judge again? A Clinton appointee. From Wikipedia, Leonie Helm Milholm Brinkema, born June 26, 1944, is an American lawyer and jurist serving as United States District Judge of the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia. She was appointed in 1993 by President Bill Clinton.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Now, I shouldn't make fun of her for her age. I'm sure there are a lot of old judges out there who are capable of rendering proper judicial decisions. Maybe I'll just make fun of her for being a Bill Clinton appointee and therefore for seemingly being a bad jurist. Quote, we have serious doubts that such a bond can be legally required, and this requirement that the plaintiffs put up the money to pay the government's attorney's fees is certainly very unusual and unexpected, especially when the government acknowledged in court that its insurance policy is covering legal costs, end quote. Josh Hetzler, co-counsel for the parents, said in a statement to Fox News Digital. So you say there's a little bit of judicial activism going on here to make it a little bit more difficult for these families to fight for justice for their children who, as far as I am concerned, were unjustly punished for being kids, and not only that, being right. Putting a girl in the boys' locker room just because that girl thinks she's a boy does not make it any different than a girl being in the boys' locker room,
which is totally inappropriate.
If that girl identifies as a boy, well, I would actually suggest getting treatment for that child because they're quite clearly confused. But if that girl identifies as a boy, have her use a single stall and not be in the presence of other boys with penises in front of a girl who does not have a penis. It's absolutely outrageously inappropriate. That we have to say this in real life is itself insane. Before taking the case to federal court, Hetzler, Wolf, and Smith sought other avenues to ensure that the two boys were not suspended or marked as sexual harassers on their permanent record. They sought to appeal the Loudoun County Public Schools Title IX sexual harassment investigation finding, which came after the boys were videotaped by a biological female who identified as transgender inside the boys' locker room. The video caught them outwardly complaining to each other about the fact that there was a girl using their facilities, which resulted in the boys' suspension and the district's harassment finding against them. So not only is there a girl in the boys' locker room, changing room, the girl is video recording boys in the locker room, changing room. There was a time when that itself would be the crime, not the boys complaining about the fact that there's a girl recording them in the boys' locker room. And then you get an activist octogenarian, Bill Clinton appointed judge saying you gotta pony up $125,000 as bond to ensure that the government's lawyers get paid should you lose on what should be a slam dunk victory for the plaintiffs. However, the appeal was ultimately denied by the district, so the decision was made to take the matter to federal court with the help of Trump-aligned law group America First Legal, AFL. Meanwhile, on Friday, Judge Brinkema for the Eastern District of Virginia extended a temporary halt to the boys' suspension so that they could continue attending class as the case is adjudicated. But simultaneously, Brinkema expressed, quote, significant weaknesses in aspects of the plaintiff's allegations, end quote, in another ruling that same day, which ultimately required Wolf and Smith to drum up $125,000 over the next 3 business days if they wanted to keep fighting the matter in court. We've seen how they do this in other cases. They use lawfare to basically try and bankrupt you out of your ability to even plead the case or defend the case, and posting $125,000 bond in 3 business days. Well, my goodness, with the help of that anchor on Fox News, they raised that amount of money and then some so they can continue with their pursuit of justice. But the judge expressed serious concerns about the legitimacy of the plaintiff's case. You know, boys complaining that there's a girl recording them in the locker room. Yeah, they're the ones engaging in some form of sexual harassment harassment, not the person recording boys in a changing room. So a small victory in a case that many people might not have heard of. And if you haven't heard about this case, make sure that you go ahead and like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop a comment in the comment section because it will help the video grow. But a small victory in that they were able to raise an excessive amount of funds in short time thanks to the support of the community so that they can now pursue this case, which itself is a matter of justice, but not just justice for these two kids, justice for society as a whole in terms of what reasonable expectations are when dealing with people's sexual proclivities, identity issues. If a girl identifies as a boy or a boy identifies as a girl, it does not give that person the right to go into the other locker room, the other changing room, walk around with their boy bits or girl bits in the presence of girls or boys and make them feel rightly uncomfortable, and understandably so for anybody with a basic sense of biology.
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
Thanks for the tip.
That's the story to be continued, and I will be following this, and I'll try to get in touch with the journalists to have them come on to talk about it in real time. That's the story. If you like what I do, you know what to do. If you want to support the work that we do, vivabarneslaw.locals.com, Rumble or Twitter, I'm the Viva Fry. Most importantly, exercise, eat healthy, sunlight, talk to people in real life, and now you know your vlog. Peace out, peeps. Booyah!